Hey guys, my name is Marcy Fazio with Fazio Law. Fazio Law is a law office in Oklahoma City that specializes in helping people who have been charged with a criminal case. So if you've got a criminal case in Oklahoma City, Edmond, Norman, Yukon, El Reno, in that general area, and you need some advice or help, feel free to call us. I'll put our phone number and email contact in the description below so you can do that. We get a lot of people who call the office with questions because if you've been charged with a crime or a loved one has been charged with a crime, then you obviously have a lot of questions. It's really stressful. So we thought that it might be helpful to go through and answer some of those questions to hopefully help you have a better idea of what's going on. This is Sheena Ford. She works at Fazio Law as well.
Hi.
So she has put together some of the most common questions that people ask when they call the office. So we thought that we would go through those questions because if people are calling us with those questions, then most likely other people are stressing and worrying about the same kind of questions. So hopefully this is helpful to you guys. If so, feel free to subscribe. We'll have some other videos answering questions coming out later. So Sheena, kind of tell us a little bit about how it comes about that you're getting these questions.
Sure. Well, my name is Sheena Ford. I'm the Client Relations Manager here at Fazio Law. I spend a lot of time talking with people on the phone who have been charged with a crime and are looking for an attorney, and we get a lot of questions. One issue that I get questioned about frequently is about bond.
That makes sense. I can definitely see why people would be asking about bond, because bond is basically the way that a person who has a warrant or has been arrested gets out of jail. If you didn't have a bond or weren't able to post bond, then you would have to stay in jail for the entire time while your criminal case was proceeding. And that could very easily be 6 months to a year or even longer. So bond basically is the way that when bond is set at a certain dollar amount, if you're able to post that bond, that is what allows you to get out of jail. So while your criminal case is pending, you're able to be home and be with your family and keep working. So definitely a very important topic, Sheena.
Well, a lot of the callers were very interested to know how that bond amount is determined.
Sure, that makes sense. So the bond amount, again, it's usually a dollar amount. So it could be $1,000, $100,000, $1 million. Occasionally bond is even denied. That's usually on murder cases. So how it gets determined is primarily going to be based on what the charge is. So this is, just so you know, just general guidelines. Depending on your specific circumstances, your specific case, and what courthouse you're charged in, there are a lot of different variables that can affect this. So I can't give you an exact answer, but I can give you some general guidelines. For example, Oklahoma County has a bail schedule or a bond schedule, and it's basically literally just a document that has the charge listed and then the bond amount. And so 90% of the time, your bond amount is going to be determined based on your charge. So we can look at this sheet and it shows, okay, you're charged with burglary in the first degree. The bond schedule for that is $10,000. Or you're charged with possession of marijuana. The bond amount is $2,000. You're charged with felony DUI. The bond amount is $5,000. So again, that's not, you can't just say that's what my bond will be because this video said so. This is just kind of a general guideline of how bond's going to get set.
Sure. Now, if a caller had been previously convicted of something, would that have an effect on their bond amount?
That's a good question, definitely. So a lot of people that call us have never been in trouble before, and so your bond is just pretty much looking at the charge, looking at the amount. Other people have been in trouble before, and so they're probably a little bit more stressed and worried if they have a prior conviction. The general rule, and I'm going to emphasize that because again, it varies depending on your circumstances, your charge, your case, the facts of that, what courthouse you're in, a ton of different variables. But the general rule, if you have a prior felony conviction, your bond amount would be doubled. So the example we used earlier, if you're charged with burglary in the first degree and the bond amount says $10,000, well, if you had a prior felony conviction, it would be $20,000. So usually, short answer, general, not specific, prior felony convictions are going to double your bond amount.
Now, are there any exceptions to any of these bond rules?
Yeah, and like I said, these are just guidelines, so none of it is written in stone, but the general exceptions that could sometimes happen is sometimes your bond could be set higher than schedule, or it could even be set lower than schedule. Usually the way that would happen is, for example, if there was something in your case that caught the district attorney's attention and they thought your bond should be higher than schedule, they can ask, usually it's done through a motion, it's formal, it's not like just going and saying, hey judge, but they can formally ask the judge to increase your bond or set it above schedule. So if burglary 1 schedule is $10,000, but for whatever reason the district attorney thinks it should be higher, they can request that the judge raise the bond. On the flip side of that, a defendant, the person who's in jail, usually through his or her attorney, can also request that the judge reduce the bond amount. So if the bail schedule calls for $10,000, the defendant has the opportunity to request that the bail be reduced or lowered. And the judge may or may not grant the request to raise it or to lower it, but the parties have the option to make that request. So there's definitely some exceptions to the bond schedule.
Oh, well, thank you, Marcy. That's really great information, and I think it'll be really helpful to all of our callers.
Great. Thanks, guys. See you later.